Hello, welcome to the Brand Builders podcast, and my name is Paul Archer, and I'm incredibly excited to have Mr. Daniel Price. Dan, good to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Now, you've built a phenomenal business, and we're going to hear a little bit about that, and that has gone through some crazy turbulent times, particularly recently, and just that brand just keeps on growing and growing. So, but before we get into that, do you want to tell me how it all started? Where did you come from?
Sure. So I grew up in London, and I actually met my co-founder of what was to become my first years. Met him in the playground, Johnny, when we were four years old, and we then we were at primary school, secondary school together. At university, or actually at primary school, I feel like I was potentially buying and selling crisps and sweets from like just going through old photos. And I always had something like entrepreneurial within me. And then when I was 13, my dad passed away from skin cancer, and I realized that actually, well, first of all, that was obviously extremely tough for that age or for any age. But what that did is it built me, made me stronger, made me want to make my family proud and actually be the man of the house. And I think that entrepreneurial flair that was inside my dad, that he had these, like almost had these businesses like twice, almost something came off. And I feel like it definitely would have if he was around for longer. And that really it was instilled in me from a young age. And then I was at university in Leeds. And during university, I was obviously like studying, but mainly thinking about what I wanted to do. And I was then together with Johnny, buying and selling clothes and jewelry to students. And then...
and was Johnny at Leeds as well?
Johnny was also at Leeds, sorry, yeah.
What were you studying?
We were studying business studies.
Oh, okay.
So, and we really enjoyed that. Enjoyed working together on that, and could see we had completely different skill sets which complemented each other. And then from there, I started to run a few club nights. So I went from like maybe one night a week. I was actually working for a company, but I was managing the nights, 3-4 nights a week in Leeds, and then in Manchester as well. But really enjoying that and enjoying the freedom, running my own thing, and working within a team.
What kind of nights were these?
Sorry, like club nights for students.
Just like cheese, like the kind of the classic, or did you have some niches that you were going for?
It was pretty cheese, like Baywatch at the end.
Nice, yeah, Living on a Prayer.
Yeah, all of that.
Oh, brilliant.
And I was loving it, and I would have done that forever. But I realised I needed to do something different, I think. I wasn't enjoying the nights as much as I was previously. And at the time, I was buying into like Nike ID personalized trainers, getting initials put on the back. But the process really from ordering was 6 to 8 weeks. So it took ages. And a part of me was thinking, why is it taking so long? And then on the other side, Johnny, we both had a baby gift to buy at the same time. And we both spoke and said, actually, there's nothing really out there that was different, cool, unique, and personalization we just felt was going to be massive. So we spoke to each other and said, let's do something. And that's where from there I kind of thought of this, my first shoe, which evolved into my first years.
Brilliant. So that was going to be a kid's shoe that was like personalized or something in there. Is that how the first product came out, or was that just at an idea stage then?
It was idea stage, but it was basically no one could personalize a ready-made baby shoe. And hence why, well, first of all, why Nike weren't doing it, and second of all, why it took 6 to 8 weeks, because they embroidered the shoe when it was flat, when they were making it in the factory. Then
Really?
They put the shoe together. So it took 6 to 8 weeks. And then we just thought that baby and kids was the great entry into personalization. And in order for us to really make that work, we felt it was going to be a gift. And if it was a gift, speed was everything. So from the beginning, we always had it has to be next day delivery available, which was like a big USP for us.
And why hadn't this been done before?
So it's traditionally a very, first of all, labor-intensive thing to get into. Not on the high street was around at the time, but a very small number of sellers. And the types of sellers or companies that were doing it at the time were very mum and pop type kitchen table based businesses that were embroidering a blanket or sewing onto a teddy bear's jumper with a name, which was great. But we took a view and actually thought, if we could scale and make a proper brand out of this, and find a way to scale personalization, when personalization becomes huge, we're going to be in the best position. So that's kind of how it all started.
And so when was this?
The idea was like the beginning of 2010, and we launched October 2010.
And so you were at university still, or had you graduated at that time?
So graduated, and I spent a year after university in Leeds running these nights full time.
Right, got you. And then it was like full time, start the brand.
Yeah, I said to Johnny, like, let's meet, and we met up, and he was actually just finishing his degree because he did a sandwich course. And then we both kind of, we just got the feeling that there was something in it. And we were at a time in our lives where we felt we could take a risk.
That sounds amazing. So you and Johnny sat down and decided you were going to go for this, build this business. I mean, what happens after that? I mean, did you need to raise funding? Do you following the lean startup methodology, sniffing out where this opportunity is? How are those first kind of few years?
First few years were winging it, really, to be honest. But we knew we had to buy a machine. We had to get an office to put the machine into, embroidery machine that is. And so we invested everything we had, pretty much, the two of us. We put that into the business, bought the machine, made the first website, and then started telling people about it. And I think at the beginning, we're very much, I'm a believer in perception's reality, and on a website, you have no idea. It's not like a shop where you can see that no one is ordering if you walk in. Mm-hmm. On a website, you have no idea how many customers are ordering. So from the minute we launched, we were huge as far as my grandma was concerned, as far as friends were concerned, but more importantly, as far as like customers were concerned. We never were overconfident about what we were doing, but we tried to make it into a proper brand from day one. And I guess that was like massively important in where we went next. And we quickly had to change the website because we realized that we were allowing customers to write an essay basically on a pair of shoes, on the sole of the shoes, or they could actually position where they wanted. So that wasn't possible. We had to put character limits on it, and we needed a site that we can actually, it was a fixed position, and it was just a better flowing e-commerce site. So we quickly changed the strategy, built the site, and then realized we needed a little bit more investment to take it to the next level. And when I say next level, we bought a chin-up bar for the office, and every time there was an order, we would do we'd do a chin-up. And
if anyone is just listening to this now, Dan is 3 foot wide, just to wait.
I mean, I'll be we clearly weren't getting any orders at the time, and I haven't been to the gym recently. But no, it was just a bit of fun, and I think the more orders we had, we just had more fun with it, but realized that there was something in it. But to be honest, at first, without doing the brand building side of things, which I'm sure we're going to come on to, it was very, very difficult to make it work from a cost base in terms of spending money on Google when nobody had heard of us. So that was something we realized wasn't going to work, which is obvious now, was spending £50 to acquire a customer that was going to spend £12 on a product, which, just to anyone listening, that's not the right way to go.
The unit economics,
yeah,
not quite working out. And what was the thing that really took off? What was the first channel that you found a repeatable, sort of scalable niche with?
Honestly, it was Google, but it was Google with PR. PR was a huge part of it, which started to drive down the cost on Google. So yes, okay, maybe when we were spending £50 for the first few orders, there was a lot of inefficiencies in that, obviously, but it was more about when we started doing PR, we really saw the brand getting out there, and then customers knowing a bit more who we were. So when they typed in personalized baby gift, and then realized, oh, actually that was the product that Danny Minogue's baby had. Actually, that's, I'm gonna order with them. And every bit of PR we had right from the beginning, which was pre social media becoming huge, pre influencers as we know them today. I'd say the celebrities were the influencer, but I just felt like we had to get out there in a big way and find different angles.
That makes sense. And so how would you make sure that Danny Minogue's baby has my first year's personalized baby grow on, or whatever the case is?
So this is where I came in, I guess. So I'm always thinking out of the box. How can I be doing something? How can we do something differently to anyone else? So Danny Minogue, for example, we got tickets to the X Factor, and we turned up to the show with a my first year's gift box with a blanket saying "Mummy has the X Factor," and a couple of other products. And then during the interval, we literally put our hand up and we went over to Danny Minogue. We gifted her, and then that got photographed, and it was in Heat magazine. And that we realized, oh my God, there's something in this. Like, we're gifting, and then we're getting some press, and we're seeing a sales increase, and that sales increase is staying at that level. It's not coming back down. So then I did. My mum called me and said, Hot Radio want to gift Elton John for his newborn. So I thought, okay, what can we do? So we actually put Tiny Dancer on a teddy bear, and then we put Zachary, How Wonderful Life Is Now You're in the World, on a blanket. And we gifted him. And then again, sales increased.
And did he receive it? He talked about it himself, or was it the fact that you said, we sent this to Elton? It didn't even matter whether he even saw it, or was he actually an advocate of yours?
Yeah, so it was on, so first of all, it was on Heart Radio live, and they filmed the whole thing, and that got put out there as well. And then from that, the newspapers picked up, and then it was about, right, how can we be clever about how we talk about it? So I just realized, actually, this is huge. I need to get every celebrity that has a baby, I need to find a way in, whether it was through their cousin or through Lisa Snowden was extremely helpful to us. Every celebrity that had a kid that went on to Capital Radio, she would tell me, or she would let me know, or let us gift that celebrity. So that was super helpful. And then I would turn up. I turned up once, pretended to be the UPS driver to Beyoncé and Jay-Z's house in LA, gifting. I literally we handed it to Jay-Z, and that was unbelievable. And then Beyoncé posted something on Facebook, and then we turned up to Downing Street, said we were family friends of the Camerons. They let us straight in, and again, everything was, I think, leading to what we refer to as the PR moment, or the PR lottery, which for us was Prince George wearing our personalised dressing gown when he met Obama, and that was just like, you could not script it, you couldn't write it. It was just unbelievable. And I think it was that moment when we realised that, okay, obviously it's all luck, but actually the harder you put, the more hours you put in, you're going to create your own luck. And we got the gift to them. Obviously we didn't know it was going to be worn at all, let alone when Obama was in the photo. And then from there, because he was wearing our dressing gown, and he was wearing pajamas and slippers as well, we really thought, they're going to be talking about the pajamas and slippers. How can we be different and get it out there about the robe? And we were just clever, and we actually were lucky. We had over 2,000 articles written within 72 hours globally, and just saw the orders go through the roof, which was really where the brand started to properly take off.
And what did it say on the dressing gown?
George.
Just George, right?
just George. That one wasn't a clever slogan or anything, but they loved it. It was subtle personalization, and it worked really well.
That's amazing. And I want to kind of dig into that a little bit, because a lot of the brands that I know we work with, as marketers, the thing we always instantly try and do is scale. We instantly try and think, okay, where do I do this? And very few marketers actually do things by themselves, like for an individual when they think of it, like, how do I do this for 10, well, for 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 or whatever it is. But you were going out and you were hustling with each one of these individuals. Like, was it you that did this job? Like, you were the one that were like, right, okay, cool. Did you build a machine about getting the things out to every new celebrity baby? Like, talk about that process.
So that was really all me, getting so the bit. So I guess where companies use PR agencies, which obviously PR agencies are great, the bit that I did was more of the kind of hustle PR that only founders would do, I think. And I just tell you, like, just give you one more example of how we did that. So we'd made a pair of like similar looking little shoes that were like kind of little Yeezys for Kanye and Kim's baby. And so my wife and I we were on holiday actually in LA, realized we hadn't seen any celebrities the whole trip, which was a bit disappointing. So I said, let's go to this restaurant for lunch in Beverly Hills. We got there and we saw Kris Jenner walk in the restaurant into a private room with 5 other ladies. And my wife, Hannah Beth, just knew that I wasn't going to eat my lunch. She said, just go do your thing. So basically, I went to the toilet, and then instead of going straight back to my table, I went straight into the room where Kris Jenner was, and all like over the restaurant, it said signs. Basically, there were signs on the wall saying, "Do not approach celebrities. Like, it's not allowed." Anyway, obviously, wasn't going to listen to that. I went straight over to Kris Jenner's table and said, "Look, ladies, sorry to interrupt your lunch, but I would have been really annoyed with myself if I hadn't come and introduced myself. My name's Daniel. I'm from London, and I founded this personalized children's gifting company called My First Years." And basically told her my story, and she was so appreciative and said, "Oh my God, like, yeah, no one really approaches me here." And I'm thinking, yeah, obviously I know why. I'm seeing the signs, the signs all over the restaurant. And I just said, "Look, this is my story. Made these Yeezy shoes, baby Yeezys for Kim and Kanye's baby." And I said, I'm pretty sure you know how to get them to them. So I said, "Can you help me out?" She's like, "Sure. Have you got a business card?" And it was like the one time, even though now I would never think to have a business card now, but it was the one time I didn't have then. So I just, she said, "Look, can you get a pen and paper?" So I went and asked the manager of the restaurant, and he grabbed me and said, "You're not allowed to approach anyone. You need to get out." And as he was about to throw me out, Kris Jenner grabs his shoulder and says, like, "Let him in, it's fine. Like let him go, it's fine. Get him a pen and paper now."
That's incredible.
Which was like amazing. Anyway, she's been a great help, or like introduced me to the assistant who's been great over the years. And yeah, that was just one of the kind of ballsy stories that just show how you have to do what your gut tells you to do.
And so what came of that? I mean, did you get the shoes to Kim and Kanye?
Yeah, we did. We got the shoes there, and then we had a good bit of press from that. But it was more like social media and I guess a bit of press coverage as well.
It's amazing. I mean, like, what goes through your mind when you're thinking, I need to walk up to Kris Jenner?
So I just had a gut feeling. Oh, I just had a feeling, sorry, like, and my heart just beats a certain way, like very, very fast. And it just kind of sends me there. And I know I will regret it if I do not do it, basically.
That's brilliant. And like a lot of founders, you know, the temptation is to build a team and do all those various things so that you can sort of start scaling that. How could you encourage founders to do the same? Like, what is that self-talk to make sure that you constantly go out there and put yourself out there to drive your business forward?
Yeah, I think first of all, as you said, founders a lot of the time think they just need to hire staff or they need to get someone else to do it or an agency or whatever. But at the end of the day, no one's going to sell your product better than you can and in a way that you will. So whether you're paying $2,000 a month for an agency or $20,000 a month for an agency, no one's going to walk over to someone and say, "Hey, this is my product," like a founder would. And that's one thing I've learned from the beginning of building the brand, was how important that is. Just constantly be thinking of different angles out the box, but just do it. And what's the worst case? You get a no, or "Please, can you go away and not approach me?" And then at least you've got a story that you can have a laugh about in the future.
Brilliant. I love that. And so gifting has been pretty major for you. Is this something that you created more process around? Do you have like a budget around gifting? Do you view it as is this a customer acquisition cost? Are you down to that, or is it just shooting from the hip because you just know deep down using your intuition?
Well, in the early days it was intuition, and then I guess it becomes. We noticed that the more that the more time you spend or money on gifting, whatever, the lower your customer acquisition cost will be online on Google. So we noticed like a correlation between when we had press, that our cost per acquisition would go down online because people had heard about us, they'd seen us somewhere else, and that blend was really important. And I feel like with social media these days being so huge, a lot of people actually forget about PR. It doesn't mean like getting an ad or an article in a newspaper, but just building that PR for your brand is something that I feel like needs to go alongside any marketing activity.
And when you think about kind of building out PR again, is this something which is that now turned into a machine? Now that the company has kind of moved on a lot from those early days, is this something which you have faithfully still maintained into this day?
Yes, although it's different. Social media is now huge. Influencers are now huge, and they're different types of influencers than they were back in the day. Which mean, and also everything has got to be paid, really. I mean, unless obviously still a lot of people organically post if they like a product, but they've got to have liked the product. Either they might be gifted it, but they might they have to still put gifted, or they may just be a customer and then just put it up. But the chances of that happening nowadays are just so slim. It is just very different. There's still ways to be a bit out of the box, different angles maybe to get the product to someone, but it's not how it was. But saying that, the approach from many years ago now is now probably the equivalent of that is just a really good budget for whether it's micro influencers and then the bigger influencers or brand ambassadors, and it's just working out who's right fit for the brand basically, but it doesn't work necessarily in the same way as it did, and you don't see the spikes as we once did.
Yeah. And people aren't reading those magazines anymore. Heat magazine isn't something that people read on the tube; they're on their phones, right?
Yeah, exactly. But it got us through the stage at the time.
Yeah, and that's brilliant. And so, gun to your head, you had to choose. You've got 10 grand. You're going to spend it on PPC. You're going to spend it on gifting.
The thing is, doing one without the other, depending on the product, is tough. Like I personally, if I was just starting a brand now, I would spend it on gifting. If I had a slightly larger company, I would probably, that was looking for a direct return, I would spend it on PPC.
Brilliant. So, I mean, this was a few years ago. The company's grown a bit since then. Talk us through some of that story after you're gifting Kris Jenner. What comes after that?
So for me, what's really important is brand kudos, or how I look at it, like brand kudos. So you need your subconscious reasons why someone would shop with your brand. And when I say that, I mean, they don't know why, but something is telling them to press place order or go on that website. And for me, yeah, it's great having an ad on Google or your image on social media, whatever. But I always felt like you needed to build the value in the brand, which may not be a short-term direct return on investment, but in the longer term, it will build the value. And that's value in what you're building, so it'll help you with potential investors, but also customer base. Just a few examples. So I felt like even though we wouldn't make huge money in store, we should be in store in the right places. So we were in Selfridges. We had our machines in the Selfridges stores, so a customer could go in and choose one of the products and get it personalized there and then. And then in Harrods, we had a beautiful stand in Harrods. So those were two of the department stores, I would say. We worked with John Lewis as well before that. So that kind of helped from that. So even though personalization is for everyone, it's not necessarily if you're very wealthy or very poor, it's for all kind of demographics. but we felt like we positioned ourselves in those higher ends, so it was more of an aspirational but still affordable product. Then we always wanted to work with British Airways, so we partnered with them, and we rebranded the kids zones in the lounges into My First Year's kids zones, where we put our products there for the kids to play with before they went on to the flight. So that was like just an example. So you got your Selfridges, your Harrods, your British Airways, your Prince George, your Kardashians, and it's those reasons, those kind of kudos moments or partnerships, as well as the product being great, personalization being great, and the service being great. Then once you got all that, in terms of the brand, you then can absolutely nail the volume channels, Google, and then you just go and fill your boots, basically.
Brilliant. So you can't just do it by itself. Like Google is a signpost, but people have to know that they want to go to you anyway, right? They have to know who you are, know that you're reliable. I mean, we're the same age. All of our friends are having kids all the time. Like, it's just, don't even bother doing anything else. Just go straight to My First Year's because I know I'm going to get a gift which is going to be there for it. And I presume that there must be thousands and thousands of people in the country who feel the same way.
I hope so. I think so, and that's great feedback. But yeah, I think if I didn't feel like that about the brand, about the ways you build a brand, then I would have gone into a product that we would have probably just sold on Amazon, which you don't necessarily need that brand building. It's just a commodity product that just you type in, you search, and you buy.
Yeah, and it's quite interesting with yours because it's not just a product or it's not fashion. It's a service, but your brand is around being able to deliver that service fast. You were saying, like, is it 24 hours kind of expected for most products?
Yeah, I mean, it can be. So a lot of people choose next day delivery or standard delivery still within a few days.
Amazing. And you can you can print and get things out to people within that time. And that's the same brand. Like Amazon is a brand. They're selling loads of other things, but it's about the service and reputation that of the reliability you're going to get with Amazon. So I can see how do you see there's parallels between that in the same way?
Yeah, and I think the big difference with us was with My First Years is that whereas at the beginning, when Johnny and I were buying the product, it wasn't the best product. People were coming to us because of the personalization, then because of the gift box, and then because that celebrity had that product. It almost didn't matter what was in the box in the beginning. Whereas like over the last few years, we've got the most amazing design team, where actually the design of the products has massively stepped up over the last few years. The product is incredible, and people are actually now shopping with us for the product. I know that sounds, it sounds bonkers, but it was always personalization, then gift box, then product, and now it's like they're all equal.
Love that. And so, what sort of stage you've taken on investment and everything like that? What sort of stage did you start talking to investors?
Wow, we had I suppose family and friends at the beginning. After we invested, then it was like high net worth, like angels, and then it was funds, VCs.
Brilliant. And so riding high, climbing, the top of Google every time someone searched for a gift and all those kind of good things. It probably would have felt that you were on top of the world till a couple of years ago, and then what happened?
Yeah, definitely. So we're building the business, building a really cool brand, which we have today. And then actually it was a year. So Brexit obviously came in. That was, no one believed that would happen. That was tough on us, on everyone. And then you had COVID, and just no one was really. I mean, that March 2020 was just unbelievable, from a massive low to a massive high in terms of like volume. Like mid-March, we weren't sure what was going to happen, as everyone felt the same. And then from the end of March, we kind of never looked back for a good, really for over a year.
And is that because people who would have gone to buy a gift in the high street were forced to buy it online and they'd find you, basically?
Yeah. I mean, online saw a massive acceleration, like years of acceleration in terms of split and number of people coming to online. There was people in their 90s that were going on social media for the first time. People were doing things that they weren't doing before. They had to. We had no choice. So online was great.
We're kind of looking probably down the barrel of a pretty meaty recession, where most brands, most businesses are going to be struggling in some way. What did you learn from that experience that other people could kind of take on about how to deal with a brand in a crisis?
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, I'd like to think that we're in an industry, babies and kids, that hopefully people are still.
It's quite evergreen.
Yeah, I'd hope so. Yeah, still spending on pets is obviously another one, but yeah, I think babies is we started just after last recession, and I hope hopefully that'll be okay still. But I think in a crisis, like, it's just more about looking at, like, well, cost base, like, is everything 100% necessary? Whereas, like, when you're riding high and everything's going well, I suppose you have a lot of nice to haves, but it's just kind of tightening the ship and just making sure that you're just focused on weathering the storm, as opposed to probably in, like, extreme growth mode, is what I would say.
Brilliant. And so it's about survival, not growth.
I think so. I think survival first. Obviously, I really do think that certain industries will thrive, like absolutely thrive, and I do feel baby and kids is one of them. I think that I'm seeing personally at the moment a lot of businesses are starting up still, like more than I've ever seen. Like, well, more than ever. This okay, the recession may be coming, but it feels like it's here already. But it just a lot of businesses are still starting up, and there's hopefully a lot of people will do well over the next few years, where there might be different opportunities.
And where's the business now? Where is My First Years?
So it's in a really strong place. Great team. And really just now looking at the next few years, how, like, where the brand grows into, I guess. But lots of opportunities.
Nice, exciting. And what's next for you?
So yeah, I actually stepped away from my role at the beginning of May. My day-to-day role, My First Years, and now I'm just like, well, firstly, I stepped away, and Johnny is the CEO, and what's interesting is that you realise different stages, what, you know, where you're good, where your strong points are, and I actually saw Johnny as, like, it was the perfect time. He was the perfect guy out of the two of us, for sure, to be the CEO and take the business forwards, and was, like, really, like, thriving, I guess, at this stage of company. And I realised, like, for myself, that I really enjoy the early stages of a business, and I really enjoy working with other founders. I've helped other founders over the years go through different, challenging times, or how to get out of a situation, or just generally how to grow. So I'm taking a bit of a break, but really I was meant to take a bit of a break, and I've actually set up a consultancy, which I've called the Alberti Group, and that's named after my two kids, who are called Alba and Bertie. So I called it the Alberti Group, and like, that will just basically be consultancy advisory for different companies, from 0 to, say, 30 million revenue, but also larger companies have reached out as well for a bit of help. So yeah, just looking to really help, and then just get involved in different areas of the business, really.
That's so exciting.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Of course, like, cheerleading from the sidelines for My First Years, massively, as I always will, and still a shareholder. But I'm excited to do what I'm happy doing, and giving a lot of value. I think you realise 12 years just passes by, really does pass by quickly. But then actually taking a step back, that's more than a third of my life so far, and also we've learned so much, and we've got so much to give to other people, other founders that are in similar positions to we were.
That's amazing. And just sort of thinking of that, like, it's been an amazing journey that you've had at My First Years, and running events and everything from there. What are the counterintuitives that you've noticed? What are the things that work but shouldn't work?
So that's a good question. I'm just thinking, the things that work that shouldn't work.
Yeah, and the things that feel feel wrong but are right, or seem wrong but are the other way. It's like counterintuitive. So I always find it's one of those things around brand building that, particularly like within a recession, you're sort of jumping in now, like the tendency is to go, right, let's cut everything other than the thing that I can track. Like I can track Facebook ads, so that investment in brand over here, that investment with that, that influencer over here, or that gifting project, I don't know whether that's going to work, so I'm only going to do the one that I know will be able to track and reliability. However, the thing that's actually built the brand often is not that. I mean, like you said, my first years was not built on PPC. It's built on all this incredible hustle that you did as a founder.
Yeah, I think what obviously felt wrong at the time is to just go and approach someone, for example, a celebrity when they're out trying to have a peaceful lunch. But it also was so right, because that is how we grew. I feel like what feels wrong as well, probably now, is spending on areas. Many businesses will be spending on areas that actually does it actually show a direct return, or could they be putting their money into PPC, Google Shopping, whatever, to show that direct return? However, I think what probably feels so right is that it all goes hand in hand. So you could turn off the taps in a brand building for 3-6 months, and you may not see direct impact, but you will further down the line. And that's one thing I would say is that just be careful, or one piece of advice I would give is to be careful that you don't turn off things that are going to be like short-term win, but like longer-term losers for the brand. So make decisions based on the long term, basically.
Love that. This has been fascinating. I've just really enjoyed our chat. Thank you very much for your time.
Me too. Thank you for having me.
And if anyone needs to reach out to you, how do they get in touch?
Either LinkedIn or email me, daniel@albertigroup.co.
Nice. Brilliant.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Cool. Thank you.